A very good morning and wishing you a great Monday and a great week ahead. Welcome to today's episode of Morning Wealth. Three things we're talking about today: Bullard's not so bullish comment, rush of options activity, and the week ahead. A comment from Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis President James Bullard seems to have stoked the jitteriness. He said on CNBC that he expects the first rate hike to happen in late 2022, sooner than what Federal Reserve officials had indicated they expected on Wednesday. The Fed has faced more inflation than it expected, and policymakers need to be nimble, he added. But it will take several Fed meetings to organize the debate over tapering its bond purchase program, is also something that he remarked. Mr. Bullard doesn't currently have a vote on the FOMC, and he was the first official to weigh in after the last week's meeting. 7 of the 18 Fed officials expect one or more increase next year. The comments wrong-footed a market that had already become obsessed with the threat of inflation. Volatility rose after slipping through the spring, and the asset class that many investors had bet was due to post the steepest drop, US Treasuries, rallied. The 10-year yield fell as low as 1.44 on Friday, down from about 1.58 last month, before settling at its lowest level since March. In the Treasury market, there are many things happening, so let's break it down a bit. The 2-year note, the coupon maturity most sensitive to the Fed rate expectation, it moved up to 0.22, the highest since March 2020, from about 1.15 level, which we saw stuck for about 3 months. At the long end, however, the 30-year bond yield slumped to 2.10%, the lowest level since Feb. So the 30-year and the 10-year is down. Such a divergence has been rare in recent years. While money market rates rose and treasury yields fell about 33 times since 1995, it has occurred only once since 2011. Such episodes were fairly routine in the 2001-2003 period, when the Fed was also in an emergency policy stance during the recovery from the recession that followed the bursting of the dot-com bubble. The configuration of a flatter yield curve, a decline in previously hot commodity prices such as copper, plus a strong dollar that followed the FOMC announcement and Powell's post-meeting comments to the press, all point in a disinflationary direction, which is what is dragging down yields on the longer end of the curve. Also, in terms of positioning, many investors had bet on rising yields and falling bond prices in the recent weeks, is what the portfolio manager at Penn Mutual Asset Management comments. These investors may have had to cover their positions by buying back treasury bonds, sending yields more lower. The most likely reason is positioning, and positioning was too short, is what he remarks, referring to a surplus of bets that yields would rise. The reflation trade that has dominated markets this year and helped push US stocks to records has taken a breather as traders assess the Federal Reserve's surprise hawkishness. The S&P 500 index fell for the 4th straight day on Friday to take its 5-day tumble to about 1.9%, marking its biggest weekly decline since Feb 26th. In the process, it closed below its 50-day moving average, a key technical indicator for some traders. The move comes just a week after the equity benchmark posted a fresh high. The Dow had its worst week since October of 2020. The index of blue chip companies on Friday fell another 1.6%. For the week, it lost about 3.45%. The Nasdaq was also down by about 0.9%. For the week, it held up pretty flat, was down by about 0.3%. In terms of sectors, all of the 11 S&P 500 sectors fell Friday, with energy, financials and utilities all down more than 2%. Consumer staples, materials and real estate also fell about 1.5%. The CBOE Volatility Index, known as Wall Street's fear gauge, climbed to its highest level in weeks, settling above the 20 mark. Lumber prices tumbled 15% last week and have nearly halved from their high in May. Gold and copper both posted their largest one-week percentage decline since March of 2020. A point on the options activity here. The stock market volatility coincided with a rush of options activity, with more than 116 million option contracts which were set to expire on Friday. This is according to CBOE Global Markets data. That's the second highest level after Jan 15th of this year, when more than 150 million contracts were expiring. Many investors had turned to selling options in a wager that stocks would continue their ascent and volatility would edge lower in what is known as shorting volatility. That led to steady accumulation of options that were set to expire on Friday and contributed to the calm in markets in recent weeks, is what some traders have remarked. The S&P 500 has traded within a tight range for many weeks. Since the beginning of June, the index had risen or fallen no more than 0.5% every day except for 2 days through Thursday. Gold took a hit, with prices heading for the biggest weekly decline in 15 months amid a resurgent dollar. The metal has stumbled through key technical support levels as well, including falling below its 100-day moving average. The week ahead, the Fed releases the results of the stress test of largest US banks on Thursday. The test measured the lenders' ability to weather a financial crisis. Banks that pass with sufficient capital will be freed from pandemic dividend limits. It's Bank of England's chief economist Andy Haldane's last meeting as an MPC member, and he is likely to be the only one in favour of reducing the asset purchase target by about £50 billion. Some highlights from a light earnings week: we'll have BlackBerry, FedEx, Naspers, Nike, Oil India among some companies that I'll be tracking. Economic data out this week include the IHS Manufacturing and Services Purchasing Managers Indexes for June, which will be on Wednesday. Both are expected to hold near their record highs. The Census Bureau will release the Durable Goods Report also for May on Thursday. Orders, often seen as a decent proxy for business investment, are expected to rise about 3.3% month over month. And lastly, on Friday, we'll have the Bureau of Economic Analysis, which will report personal income and consumption for May. Spending is forecast to continue rising despite a drop-off in income as stimulus checks finish being sent out in April. That is the update. Stay safe and healthy. Have a lovely week ahead, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.